First Talk. Local guests, local news, local sports. WHKY Talk Radio, 1290 AM and 102.3 FM.
First Talk with Hal Row, WHKY Talk Radio.
Good morning. You're listening to First Talk with Hal Row on WHKY Talk Radio for the Greater Hickory Metro. A lady of her word, Mandy Pitts Hildebrand, told us that last time she was in, she said, next time I come in, I'd like to bring in Sarah Davis-Jones, talk with her a little bit about Visit Hickory and about a new branding program that's going to be coming out. Mandy Pitts Hildebrand, CEO, and you know, she goes by Mandy Hildebrand now, but I've known her as Mandy Pitts Hildebrand for so long, it's a little hard to go back and just say Mandy Hildebrand. But it's Mandy Pitts Hildebrand, CEO of the Hickory Metro Convention and Visitors Bureau. And we could go even longer than that, but that's the abbreviated form. So Hickory Metro Convention, and of course in charge of the convention center and visitors to Hickory. But Visit Hickory is what we're going to talk about this morning. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay, now let me make sure I got your mic up there. Hold on just a second. How about that? Yeah, I got the yellow up. There you go. How's that?
It's perfect.
There you go.
Yes.
Lot better now. I've got some nice materials from you the other day. So you've got a new branding program coming out. You want to introduce Sarah Davis-Jones a little bit and then tell us what we're going to be talking about this morning?
Absolutely, yes. We had a great conversation a couple weeks ago, Hal, but there's so much to talk about, and there's so much, you can't just talk about a brand and say, oh, yeah, we have a new brand. And so I said, we need some more time, Hal, if you can find some time. So Visit Hickory has transformed over the past decade or more about how we've become more of a leisure destination, of course, meeting, sports, a little bit of everything we have here. And so it was time for us to get a visitor-facing brand for the first time ever. We'd had some logos in the past, and they were successful.
Visitor-facing brand.
Right, and we had, worked with the city of Hickory on that brand, but it was time, as we learned in our strategic plan, which we talked about last time, to have our own brand. And it's a process. It's not just Sarah and I making a decision that, oh, we like this color. This sounds great. It was a large process and involved a lot of people. To do it right, you need to spend time. Okay. And I think there's a lot to it. So that's why I said, let's bring Sarah just to kind of talk you through this. And so our listeners, and so as we know, we probably have people listening from all over, but here, our locals are our best ambassadors. And so we want to make sure they understand what we are doing to market ourselves as a visitor location for people to come here.
Very good. Okay. Well, Sarah,
and then you wanted me to introduce Sarah Davis-Jones.
Would you?
Sarah Davis-Jones is the Director of Sales and Marketing and much more for our organization. Before coming to Visit Hickory, she was with Visit Winston-Salem, and we were fortunate.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were fortunate to, that was before me. My predecessor hired her, which was a great, obviously a great choice for our organization. Would that have been Miss
B.B. Leach?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, very
B.B.
good.
hired her, and she's, Sarah is from our area as well, so she loves this area. Loves everything about it, so it's easy to sell something that you love.
Sarah Davis-Jones, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Didn't know you'd worked in Winston-Salem.
I did.
So I'm going to mention a couple things here. West End?
Yes.
Burke Street Pizza?
Yes.
Okay, gosh, yes. You had to think for it. It's like, yeah, absolutely.
It's been a while.
My wife is a little theater right up from the Red Cross. My wife's from Winston-Salem.
Okay.
So we'll talk about that off the air because we're here to talk this morning about Visit Hickory.
Yes.
You said, you told me before we came on the air, 11 years?
Yes.
So now 11 years ago when you started here with B.B. Leach and you were talking about Hickory and you would talk to people about visiting Hickory, what was it that you talked about, that you sold, that you kind of pitched for Hickory 11 years ago? Because it's different than today.
Oh, yeah. We've seen a lot of growth, which makes my job a lot easier. But, when I first started, I was about 14. So,
yeah, okay, gotcha. 14, 13, 14, gotcha.
Right, yeah. So when I first started, our major assets were our location. We were just northwest of Charlotte. We had a lot of outdoor, recreational activities, which, we had just kind of started at that point to develop those assets. And then our culinary scene was just starting. We had some really great local restaurants, but we didn't really have as many as we do now.
Right.
And so on that side, when you're talking about visitors, that was more of our focus at the time was food, it was outdoor recreation, but especially furniture.
Okay.
Furniture shopping with the Hickory Furniture Mart.
Right.
So we focused on those pillars at that point. But like you said, 10 years ago, over the last decade, we've seen so much growth. So now our markets are wide open. So we're
I think it's great that you mentioned furniture because that has been kind of something I didn't think about, because I know there had been talk at one point and talking about Hickory being Northwest Charlotte and a lot of bringing that in. It wasn't just the location, but also the relationship with Charlotte. Never thought about the culinary part of it. Never thought about the dining and the culinary. But we do have a lot of local, great local restaurants. And as far as visiting, and that something I would not have thought of. So let's go 10 years into the future. And talk about when you're out visiting and you're talking about, now y'all are using some terminology and some language that I want to make sure that I get right.
Okay.
And this is, we're talking this morning specifically about visitors. Now this morning, I think we're not actually talking about bringing shows in, like the dog shows and the tractor shows and all that kind of stuff.
We talked a lot about that last time, I know.
Right.
Okay.
But
Right.
could
And they're still
go tandem.
visitors.
Oh,
You know,
yes.
those
Right.
folks are still considered a visitor,
Okay.
but those are separate markets that we market to and advertise to.
Okay.
Yes, so,
So-
leisure is a whole separate side too.
So that, in my mind, as I was thinking about what we're going to talk about this morning, I'm thinking about bringing somebody in to be an actual kind of resident of the Hickory Furniture Mart versus somebody who's going to be in and do some shopping. So you've got people who are going to be presenting at the convention center. Maybe it's going to be a Hmong basketball, and there's going to be people who may visit for the Hmong community from around here or from Georgia, wherever. So you've got a couple of different ways of looking at it. So this morning, I think, if I'm not mistaken, we can look at both. But visitor-facing branding, this is where we want people to come visit Hickory. That's what it is, visit Hickory.
Yes.
And I want to talk about some of the reasons. So we used to maybe talk about culinary. We talked about Northwest Charlotte. We talked about maybe furniture. What are we talking about today, Sarah Davis-Jones?
Well, we're still a major focus for us is still our furniture shopping as a destination.
Is it
we
really?
still talk about that. Yeah.
Okay, I tell you what, we got to go to a break. You hear the music in the headphones. So when we come back, more with Sarah Davis-Jones. We'll talk about Visit Hickory. Mandy Pitts Hildebrand, CEO, Visit Hickory. More First Talk right after this. Good morning. You're listening to First Talk with Hal Row on WHKY Talk Radio for the Greater Hickory Metro. Our guest this morning, Mandy Pitts Hildebrand, CEO, Visit Hickory, Hickory Metro Convention and Visitors Bureau. Sarah Davis-Jones, Director of Sales and Marketing. Oh, hey, did you hear? Visit Hickory. We're talking about that this morning. Sarah Jones, tell us a little bit about Sarah Davis-Jones. Tell us a little bit about how this came about, the birth of it, and then a little bit about the way that it developed to where it is today and where we want to see it go. I think that's probably just the best way to do it, is to let you kind of take it and tell us a little bit about it.
Okay, that sounds great. So as we were talking before, we've saw just an amazing amount of growth in our community. And so we took that and we said, this forward momentum, we really need a visitor-facing voice, a visitor-facing brand. We've seen visitor interactions increase over the last 10 years. So moving forward, Mandy and I had the conversations about how do we best market ourselves to outside of our community, and that's throughout the state of North Carolina, but that's also our drive market, which means that people are driving into our area from surrounding states.
What's the drive time when you say surrounding states? Because I know I can make it to Roanoke, Virginia in about 3 hours.
Yeah, so Virginia is part of our drive market.
Okay.
So anything within that region, Tennessee, South Carolina, Georgia, Virginia. So anything connected to us or within, about a 3 to 4 hour drive.
3 to 4 hours.
That's a great drive market for
Bordering
us.
states. So when you have something like Helene in western North Carolina that messes up the interstate, that could definitely impact us as well.
It can,
Okay.
yes, it can. So,
Now-
and you know, we work with the state organization called Visit North Carolina, they're
Okay.
the state tourism department, and they help communicate ways to express to potential visitors, hey, locations are still open. This is a safe way to get here. So
Okay.
we worked on that. But with I-40 being closed at the state line, that really does impact a lot of traffic coming down I-40. People don't realize that locally, but we see a lot of transient visitors.
So interrupted. So you're talking to about the
You're good,
drive
yeah.
markets and the
Yeah.
other areas. So this is, you want to start telling people this great story that we have here.
Yeah,
Not just
absolutely.
here, but also around the area.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So we don't just promote Hickory, we promote Catawba County as a whole. And also we help promote some of our neighboring communities, Alexander, Caldwell, and Catawba,
Okay.
and Burke County.
Okay.
So moving forward, we put together an RFP, sent that information out and saying, this
Now,
is what we're looking
RFP, I
for.
think that's request for proposal.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. Good job.
Thank you.
And so we,
Mandy Pitts taught me well.
yes, she did. So we sent that request for proposal out, and then we moved forward. We actually went through a bid process with them, and
Now, this is for an advertising agency or a marketing firm to help you with these efforts.
to help develop it. Yes,
To help develop
and so
it, okay.
there are specific companies that work in branding alone.
Right.
So we actually decided through the process to work with Destination by Design. They're a company out of Boone, North Carolina.
Destination by Design, Boone,
Yes.
North Carolina. Okay.
Yes. And so they actually had worked with a couple of our local communities and municipalities within the area. But their proposal, their history, and the clients that they'd worked with really just set them above the others. And so we decided to work with them. And through that process, they went in and did all kinds of research, surveys, focus groups. We hosted numerous focus groups at the convention center. And they went in and found just gathered information without Mandy and I being in the room. So
Okay.
we decided to do that so that people had an opportunity to express how they felt about our community.
I always kind of wondered this, I'm going to interrupt along the
fine,
way.
yeah.
How do they, because we sometimes in radio or in broadcasting, we do ratings.
Mm-hmm.
And those sometimes there's different ways that we select people, or the research companies select people to give input. And how long they listen and so forth. How does this particular marketing branding company decide on who gives the input? Do they break it down demographically? Because I'm thinking, I don't know. Do you want to find out what a 12-year-old wants to do on vacation? Because that will impact mom and dad. Do you want to find out what a 65-year-old couple want to do? Because they got some money, maybe.
Exactly, yes.
So how do they go about that? And we don't have to spend a lot of time on it.
Yeah.
But how do they determine who sits in that room?
So there were a couple different ways. So the focus groups were really more of our community stakeholders.
Okay.
So our tourism partners.
Okay.
And tourism partners would be our hoteliers, our attractions,
All right.
our restaurant.
Gotcha.
Folks.
So these are people maybe who have a little bit of a stake. Well, stakeholders,
Right,
sure.
yeah, they're stakeholders.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
And then beyond that, we also invited other representatives from our community, from government, council members, but we
Okay.
also had heads of nonprofit sector.
Okay.
We tried to really branch out into as many communities as possible to get as many perspectives as possible on,
All right.
on just that local perspective of what we have as our assets are here.
Okay, so you do that list of assets. You say, this is what we believe we have that we'd like to tell other people about.
Yes.
Okay.
So then they take that data
Right.
and they compare it to our Google Analytics, which for people who don't know what Google Analytics are, anytime you search anything on Google, that website is tracking your information. And so people like me can go in on the backside of my website and say, oh, okay, people are interested in going to Riverbend Park, or people are interested in going to this restaurant, or so we can track.
They're
pretty
interested in
specifically.
getting more information on it.
Yes.
They are searching for it, and they may enter Riverbend Park for a number of different reasons, but
Correct.
probably to visit.
Yeah.
So now when we get into those Google Analytics,
Yeah.
we start to actually be able to get some demographic information.
We can tell age ranges. We can tell where they're from.
Right.
What they're, how long they're searching for certain things. It
So you
gets
have
pretty
the-
granular. For
You
sure.
have the granular, good word. So you have the personal input.
Yes.
And then you also have the data.
Yes.
Which is very, very important. So it's data driven. So what we're saying is that as much as we think the world of you and Mandy, You just didn't sit down and say, hey, this would be a good idea. One of the things that I think that Ms. Pitts Hildebrand wanted to do this morning is to talk about the fact that this does have the data. It is backed up. This was done in a very prescribed manner and backed up with best practices by going with somebody who knew what they were doing and by getting the information and the data locally and then being able to back it up. So I interrupted again.
You're fine.
But go ahead.
You're good. So we took all of that information and we worked with their team. And it really starts at a basic level of how we want our voice to sound.
And you've used
outwardly.
that voice a couple times, and I like that. I like the fact that we're talking with a voice because that makes more. You explained this to me when we were off the air.
Yeah.
It's more than just a brand. It's more than, but when you talk with a voice, that kind of encapsulates, not the right word. It brings under that umbrella a lot of different parts of the story.
It does. It does. When most people think of a brand, they just think it's a logo,
Okay.
or a color or something like
Right.
that. And it's the sum of all the parts that speaks together, and that's what people see and recognize. So a brand allows somebody to be familiar, and the more we do brand recognition, so the more they see it, the more they're going to correlate. Oh, okay, that's Visit Hickory. Oh, that's Hickory. So if you think of other destinations out, and I'll use a large destination out west that has a lot of casinos, you kind of tend to know what their tagline is,
Right.
So,
I think, without a doubt, the very best one, my opinion, because I grew up there, Virginia is for lovers.
right, exactly.
For golf lovers.
Yeah.
For
Yes.
horse lovers.
Yes.
For whatever, but Virginia is. And I thought whoever came up with that one,
Yes.
they didn't pay him enough because I think that's one of the best ones. But we got a great one here.
We do.
For Visit Hickory, and we'll talk more about that.
Absolutely.
And I thought it was an interesting story how that came about. More First Talk right after this.
Local information for the greater Hickory Metro. It's First Talk with Hal Row.
Good morning. You're listening to First Talk with Hal Row on WHKY Talk Radio for the greater Hickory Metro. Mandy Hildebrand joins us this morning. Sarah Jones. Mandy Hildebrand, CEO, Visit Hickory, Hickory Metro Convention and Visitors Bureau. Sarah Jones, Director of Sales and Marketing. Hey, did you hear? They're on First Talk this morning. People will be talking about it today. But what we really want to talk about this morning is we realized that we wanted a visitor-facing brand. You two discuss this. You do the research, find out the right branding company, the right marketing company, people who do this. You get the information internally from the folks that we have on a local level, local stakeholders and local leaders in the area who are into this. Then you go back and you take a look at, with the marketing company, the analytics and who we want to talk to and where we want to talk to them, the bordering states, the driving visitors to the area. So that comes as developing the brand. And then you have a person from, and I was going to ask you about the proximity to where we are. Was that part of the decision-making process? Okay, Boone, Blowing Rock, they're going to be a lot more familiar with what's happening in Hickory than maybe somebody from Charleston. We'll talk about that maybe a little bit later on, about that decision-making process. But they had actually a member of the team come to Hickory. Tell me about that, because is that the next step?
Yeah. So
Okay.
actually, they did their own independent research as a firm. And so they, being in Boone, they were able to just drive down the mountain
Right.
and visit us. And so one of their, one of their graphics guys came down with his family for a weekend. And they spent the weekend here exploring, going out to eat, going on the lake and doing a few things.
Really?
And,
Going on the lake? Okay.
yeah. And his perception was that everyone was so friendly
Right.
and inviting. And it was just a warm, it was just comforting to be here. That's good
Okay.
old Southern hospitality.
Right.
And he said that actually one of the interactions that he witnessed in our downtown was somebody walking by and they saw somebody they knew and they were like, "Oh, hey, how are you?" And he
Right.
said that just sparked his brain and said, "Oh my gosh, like this is such an inviting, a welcoming community." And he said, we have to tell, that has to be part of that voice.
No, hey.
And so, and then he said he wrote it down and he didn't really think much
Oh,
about
hey,
it.
Mandy Pitts. Yeah, okay, I can hear that. Oh, hey.
yeah.
How you doing?
Oh, hey.
Oh, hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, got it.
It's
All
very
right.
inviting. But then it's also, to your point, oh, hey, did you know that we have the world's largest collection of log structures from the 1800s? At Hart Square Village. Oh, hey, did you know that we have over 100 miles of shoreline on Lake Hickory or in the Catawba River? So those are it can kind of work both ways. But
Oh, hey, did you know the largest state park is
South Mountain
South Mountain
Park.
State
South Mountain
Park?
State Park, exactly.
So supporting
Heard that
Burke County.
yesterday.
That's right.
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 Something I didn't know.
Yeah.
Right. So
there's a lot of really unique and fun ways that we can use that. So he developed, he like I said, he wrote it down. He didn't really
Right.
think anything about it. He took it back to the team, and they loved it. So then they pull all of that information together, and
Right.
but some of the things that I think we should probably touch on too are that from that research and data and our committee and all the folks that had input in this, we developed.
so there was a committee who was involved with this.
Yes, that we had a committee of folks. So again, it wasn't just Mandy and myself.
Right.
But we did have 4 others.
Who interacted with the branding company.
Correct. Yes.
You know
And
them all very
you
well.
do know them
Okay.
all very well. We had. Can I name them?
Sure.
Okay.
I think you should. Yeah.
Zach Cranford from
Sure,
Cranford
yeah,
Hospitality. We had Ingrid Keller
Oh,
from
yeah.
Arts Culture Catawba.
Yes.
And we also had Lindsay Kiesler, President and CEO of Chamber of Commerce.
Right.
And we also had Mark Seaman from
Oh,
City of
wow.
Hickory Parks and Recreation Sports
Okay,
Tourism.
yeah, I know them all. Great people.
Yes.
And plugged in and truly stakeholders. Yeah, okay, good. Good,
And so
okay.
they all represent different parts of our community as
Yep.
well, culinary
Right.
and food, and within hospitality,
Right.
arts, and so
Sports
business and
tourism,
sports tourism. So
right.
we tried to spread the wealth there a little bit.
You
and
did
invite
great.
different
Okay, I approve.
perspectives.
Not that
Yes.
matters. But that's great that your folk. And we
Yes.
have, and it's what also is great is that we have those people in our
We
community.
do, yes.
Right.
We're very fortunate, very fortunate. So from that, we decided that this brand needed a specific twang, shall we say, for the voice tone. And so through the research, through the committee, through the focus groups, we developed 3 terms that we like to give our voice. And it's going to be a bold voice, because we punch above our weight class and we are a growing and thriving community, and we can say that. We wanted it to be a little cheeky, so a little bit sassy, because we are Southern, but we're also very sweet. And then also just a little fun. When we have fun here as locals, we wanted to showcase that as a visitor, you can have fun here too. So those are our 3 voice, I would say, terms that describe the sound of the voice and
Okay.
the way that advertising will sound, and that it will look fun. It'll look a little bold and punchy and fun. So
Okay. So where are we with that? Is that the next step?
that is the next step.
And this is where we are kind of now, right? This is where we've been.
Yep.
And you're starting to roll out the brand.
Correct.
So we've kind of seen, we've taken a little peek this morning, we've taken a little peek behind the curtain.
Correct.
And seen all the things that go into this.
Yes.
And not just, okay, here it is, here's the reason that we're doing this.
Exactly. And
Gotcha.
this takes about 6 to 9 months to develop.
Okay.
So this wasn't a, sit down for a 2-hour meeting and knock it out. It was a long process of back and forth and meetings and Zooms and like I said, the focus groups were multiple days. So now, we're in the rollout process, which we're really excited about. We're in the soft phase right
Okay.
now, the soft rollout phase. And then we will be hosting Visit and See, the tourism conference here in a couple weeks.
That's pretty big.
Yeah, we have 550 of our closest non-family members from across the state that represent all of the destinations to visit here, and visit North Carolina's tourism department as well will be here.
In my mind, okay, great that they get to see us, but also what can we learn? What will they disclose when they visit a local restaurant? What will they say about that amongst themselves?
Correct.
And that we can eavesdrop and we can hear about. So we can learn as well as letting them see what a wonderful opportunity we have to visit our area.
Yeah, and this is the first time we've ever hosted this conference. And so
Pretty big deal.
it is, yeah. And so it actually kind of just serendipitous in how everything worked together with timing, and I'm a huge timing believer, so everything kind of works how it's supposed to. And so the timing of how this was worked on, approved, and launched with the soft launch lined up perfectly to have the secondary phase of this roll out to our industry peers at Visit and See.
Okay,
So
right.
we'll roll that out pretty significantly at conference.
Good. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Didn't think about that. But
Yes.
hey, welcome. This is what we're doing.
Correct.
Gotcha.
And then
And both of you are smiling.
Yeah.
Both of you are like, this worked.
yes,
Yeah.
it was. When I say it was truly serendipitous, it really was. Like it just, we couldn't have planned it any better, and we didn't plan it that way originally, and then it just kind of worked out that way with timing. And then the third phase, which a lot of our locals will see at that point, will actually come the first week of May with National Travel and Tourism Week. I believe it's May 4th through the 9th or 10th.
Yeah, you're right.
And we can
Yeah.
talk about that next.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice segue right there. Heard the music in the headphones, and we'll talk about that right after this. More First Talk on the way. Good morning. You're listening to First Talk with Hal Row on WHKY Talk Radio for the Greater Hickory Metro. It's been a very interesting morning this morning. I have learned a lot about what's coming up with the branding, the visitor-facing branding coming through Visit Hickory, part of what's going on with the Hickory Metro Convention and Visitors Bureau. And I understand now, because we've spent a little time talking about this, about the reason that we needed it, how we went through it and developed it. And then we're going to talk now about some rollouts and some things that we're going to be seeing so we can get our ambassadors, the folks that live here, to talk about this. But Mandy Pitts Hildebrand, during the break, you brought up a very good point, is that we just don't do, even though it is Visit Hickory, and even you do work with partners and other municipalities and other counties throughout to make us all a better community to visit and to stay and to enjoy.
You're exactly right. And we've been saying this for a decade or more, but visitors do not see city and county lines.
Right.
If we can get them to our area, it's good. It's for all of us. We work so closely with Burke County, Discover Burke, Caldwell County, Alexander County, because as a region, we're much more powerful. And I think that's one of the benefits of where we live also. We want to help each other. And I think Visit Hickory doesn't mean necessarily you've got to stay within the city limits. Visitors don't know. You just asked about golfing. We have so many opportunities in Catawba County, but throughout the region that we're going to share with you, because we want you to come and explore this area and be here. So again, we're talking with our communities within Catawba County. They understand. Like Visit Charlotte. Well, they may be really promoting Matthews or something else like that. Just get people to our area and be okay with that and embrace it. And we're all here to help one another bring visitors here, because it is economic development, and plays a vital role in our community.
Sarah Davis-Jones, Director of Sales and Marketing. I've got some nice little stickers that a buddy of mine gave me the other day. I hope it's okay I'm one of the first ones with was like, tell me about the color. Tell me about what it says. Tell me about, and y'all are going to be rolling out something big. I know that you're going to kind of keep that under wraps when your compatriots get here from your industry, and they come here. But I got a couple little stickers.
Yeah.
Am I like?
Yeah, that's okay. You're special, Hal. We'll give you. We'll have a shirt for you before too long.
Well, talk to Omar, the tent maker, and see if you can't get one
Oh
with enough different X's on there. And I'll wear it. Don't get me wrong. But tell me a little bit about what I'm seeing.
Okay, yeah. So we've been in the soft launch, so we've kind of subtly rolled out some of the new color, which if you see it around town, it's a really pretty warm and inviting honey yellow.
Honey yellow.
Yes.
Okay.
And so we actually have another color within our color scheme that says, "Oh hey honey." Yeah.
Oh hey honey.
So very, very nice. Oh yes, very nice sticker.
There you go.
So yeah, so we've been subtly
Vince
rolling
has
that
one
out.
too. And you want to make sure it's like, don't think you're so special, man. I've got a sticker right here on my calendar. So yeah, Vince has got one.
Yeah.
And man, oh hey. Man, oh wow, can I talk about what I just saw?
Yeah.
Okay, Mandy's got one on her phone.
She does.
And so when I'm looking at and having my picture made, it's oh hey.
Oh hey, that's right.
Very cool. Oh hey honey, I like that. A little sassy, a little southern.
is, yeah.
Oh hey honey.
Oh hey. So we've started rolling some of those small things out, but as I mentioned, the third phase will be when we really ramp up and roll out significantly throughout our community, and that's where we're hoping that our local visitors, our locals will be our best ambassadors.
So everybody will have a sticker.
If you want one, yes.
Watch for your sticker coming in the mail. No, you'll have to ask for it. But so this will be when everybody here kind of plugs in.
Correct.
And understands what the oh hey and what this. So I hope they've listened to the show this morning and maybe understand a little bit that it wasn't just happenstance, that it wasn't just throwing ideas, that you actually took the due diligence. You did what you needed to do to make it successful and brought this so that we can have more success for the Hickory Metro Convention Center and
Yes,
Visitors
and I want
Bureau
Sarah to talk
specifically.
Sarah, the other part of the tagline.
Oh, yes. So when we were developing the original tagline, they presented 3 options. The first option was, oh, hey, and we loved it.
Right.
The second one we didn't really care for, so we knew that one could go.
Okay.
And then they presented a third one to us, and we loved it so much that we didn't want to lose it. And so we asked them, is there a possibility for us to keep 2? And they said, absolutely. So we have, oh, hey, visit Hickory. But then once people are here, once people have visited our area, they've experienced all the fun things that there is to do here, or whether or not they've seen one of our videos, well, now you know.
Now you know.
So it's that little cheekiness of, you may not have known about Hickory, but oh, hey, did you know this? Well,
Right.
now you know.
Now you know. Very good.
That brings chill bumps to my arm.
You like that
is
one.
that? I mean, you just can't make it up.
Yeah.
Like Sarah said, it's all about timing, and it's the right time to do our brand. I'm glad we did it now and not 5 years ago. It's just the right timing.
Yes, it really is.
And it's so true, and it's so authentic, and it's who we are. It's nobody else.
Correct.
It's us.
I got a great, what I think is a great idea, but I'll tell you all off here.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
it might not be a great idea, and I don't want to like stink the place up with a bad idea. Right, to follow up this great show. Mandy Pitts Hildebrand, thanks so much, CEO of Visit Hickory, Hickory Metro Convention Center, Convention and Visitors Bureau. Sarah Davis-Jones, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank
Good to
you
see
for
you.
having me.
Director of Sales and Marketing. Of course, I want to thank both of you very much for your time this morning and all the great work you're doing for us here in our community. And now for the James Oxygen Pass Off to Second Thought with Chuck Boozer on Second Thought today. Chuck, who's on the show?
Oh, thank you, Hal. Good morning, everyone. Coming up here, we'll talk with CVC historian Richard Eller. The countdown is on for America's 250th anniversary. It's in July of next year. We'll also talk with North Carolina Forestry's Philip Jackson, get an update on the wildfires in Polk and Henderson County. And did that rain we have yesterday help us at all? Also, it's Tax Tuesday, so Shannon Stanberry will be here. You do know it's tax time. And then 11 o'clock hour, Junior Blackburn from Redline Automotive, some springtime car care tips. Oh, boy, you got to make it last a long time these days. All coming up just a few minutes here on Second Thought from WHKY. Hal.
Great show coming up. Chuck, this pass off brought to you by James Oxygen, passing gas in Hickory for the past 69 years. Thanks so much for joining us on First Talk. We know you have a choice in morning radio. That's why we appreciate you choosing the First Talk radio program. Be grateful for what you got. Make it a great day. We'll talk tomorrow on First Talk with Hal Row right here on WHKY, Talk Radio for the Greater Hickory Metro. Today's national anthem brought to you by Shuford Federal Credit Union, where it's all about you. Shuford Federal Credit Union, thank you. We appreciate your partnership with our station so much. And thank you for bringing us our daily national anthem. Be grateful for what you got. Make it a great day.